Hello and welcome to another edition of the LPE Author Chat Series. I am Kimberly K. LaBoo, CEO and founder of LaBoo Publishing Enterprise. You are joining us for another segment of this special anthology series with authors from the anthology Set Apart and Chosen, God Uses Ordinary Women to Do Extraordinary Things. Today, our special guest is Kendra Randall, Esquire. She is an attorney, entrepreneur, professor, and community servant who has devoted her life to advocacy and empowerment of women and children. As an attorney, Kendra has garnered success in civil litigation, family law, child welfare, and ethics for attorneys and judges. She was the project manager for her prior law firm's multi-million-dollar government contracts. In 2008, Kendra co-founded A Step Closer Foundation Incorporated, ASCF, a 501(c) nonprofit organization whose mission is to take children a step closer to their destiny. Kendra is the visionary for She Matters, an initiative of ASCF, which hosts life-changing programs that develop, inspire, and showcase female accomplishments, including conferences, award ceremonies, summits, and business and leadership camps. Thousands have been impacted by attending She Matters events. I can attest to that. In addition to She Matters, ASCF enhanced young men's lives through the He Matters Power of One program. ASCF also has initiatives to assist foster children, including holiday parties and trash bags to travel bags. Kendra's current focus is producing a documentary through her company, Her Communications LLC, and developing TV for girls. Kendra has received numerous awards as well as local and national media coverage for her work and community service. She's most thankful to God for the opportunities to minister and mother two beautiful children. Welcome to the LPE Author Chat Series, Kendra Randall.
Thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate you having me.
All right, so I'm so excited to have you with us today because you have written a chapter in Set Apart and Chosen, and your title is Healing the Girl Within. So first, as I've asked all the authors in this series, what made you say yes to this project?
Well, as soon as I saw your post about the potential project, it struck me in my spirit that this was the project for me. I'd written this book approximately a year and a half ago, and I just didn't have the right space in order to provide it and to publish it as I wanted to, and nothing seemed to be the right fit. And once you posted the potential interest, I knew that that was a fit. I knew that that was where my experience would fit in well. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to do that.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you said yes, because your chapter, you're right, it just fit in perfectly. And it's another area of healing per se that's needed. And so I'm just grateful to have your chapter in the book. So thank you so much. And I'm glad that God put it on your heart to be a part of it. So that's awesome. So we are going to jump right in. So in the chapter, like your opening paragraph, I was like, oh my gosh. So you wrote, when I was young, I think around 9, my mother was in our basement and I was standing on the steps. I don't remember what I did or probably said, knowing me, but what I will never forget is that she said, "You're a demon." In childhood, you have those transformational moments that cause you to go back to that exact date and time. You never forget how you felt, how it changed you. You could almost cry like it just happened again. So you've written this chapter about a pretty tumultuous relationship with your mother. And hearing the words, "you're a demon," would stop anybody in their tracks, let alone you as a child. So tell me, like, what did that do to you as a child?
Well, it did a lot of things to me. One, it affected my self-esteem. For a long time in my life, I did not have high self-esteem as a result of comments like that. Where, you know, and my mother, as I stated in the book, was a teenage mother. She was very young. And a lot of things that she did, I don't believe they were intentional, but I think it was a function of her childhood pains and things that she'd gone through, and then a function of her being young. But nonetheless, those things affected me in a number of ways. And that particular comment, the demon, it affected me spiritually. I had been going to church with one grandmother, and then she passed away, and then another grandmother started taking me to church. And so, I had that inner conflict for a long time. Am I a Christian? Am I a good person? Am I a demon? This is my mother, the person who birthed me, who knows me, who sees me every day, and she says I'm a demon. Am I a demon, or am I a Christian? Does God love me? Can I go to heaven? Those kinds of spiritual turmoils I would have for a long time as a result of that and comments like that.
Yeah, I bet. And in the book, you talk about, more of those instances and how those things started to play out for you. But I can't even imagine, like, I'm sure that was not the only incident as a child. Like, you were constantly hearing those types of things. And I know that, those things get buried deep, within us. And so we carry it into adulthood, which you talked about in the book, and how there was an incident when you were much older, when you ran into a career coach, you say,
Right.
that turned out to be more than that. And he helped you to get in touch with what you describe in your chapter as this conversation you're having with little Kendra. Can you share a little bit about that encounter with him and how it changed your life?
Definitely. I had that experience at a time when I was about to close my business, but yet I had a number of things that I knew that I wanted to do with my life that were outside of the practice of law. I had my law firm for about 16 years, and that was what I knew. I knew practicing law, I knew going to court, but I knew that God had other things in store for me. I knew that He wanted me to do my productions. I knew that and mind you, I've never been educated in that field, but for some reason I was drawn to do it, and He's given me so many ideas. I knew that was one thing. I knew that I was supposed to be speaking more. I knew all these things that I was supposed to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And it took me outside of my comfort zone, just the thought of it. Because if you've been, in your field for many, many years, in this year, I will have been practicing law for 25 years. And so if you're in a field for a long time, and that's where your comfort is, and then for you to be stretched to have to go somewhere else and do something else, it was very, very uncomfortable. And so I just happened to meet this career coach one day who offered to help me. And it turned out that the career coaching was more than just career coaching, but it ended up being transformational for me, and actually some parts therapy for me with a lot of the things that I was dealing with. And through that career coaching, I got in touch with me. I was doing a number of things, and as you know, I went through a lot of childhood pain, but I started a Step Closer Foundation, which you described earlier in my bio. And the mission of a Step Closer is to take children a step closer to their destiny. And the reason that I founded A Step Closer was two things. I started working with foster children and representing foster children in abuse and neglect cases. And how interesting is that was something that I did for many years. And I saw that they were hurting with different things that they went through, but I wanted those children to know that no matter what they went through in their childhood, that they would be able to make it, that they would be able to be successful. And with everything that I'd gone through, I went to law school, college, then law school, became an attorney, got my own business, my own law firm, did so many other things. And I started to realize that there were other children who were hurting that needed to know that they could make it, that they could be what I am and more. That if you think I'm successful as an attorney, then you know what? Even though you went through certain things, you can do this too. So A Step Closer was birthed from that, from both of those experiences, my childhood experience, as well as those that I saw many of my foster children clients going through. So bringing me to the career coaching session, where the coach mentioned, well, you do so much to help children. No, he said, why? The first question was why? Why do you do this? Why did you found A Step Closer Foundation? And I thought about it and I became emotional, and I realized what I just told you, that part of the reason that I'm sure that I'm so passionate about empowering children, educating children, helping them to see different career paths, that no matter what they've been through in their lives, is because of everything that I went through. That although I had those experiences, I was determined that I was going to succeed, that I was going to educate myself, that I was going to make it. And ultimately, I ended up helping a lot of kids in the process. And a lot of times, your pain can turn into good things. It can turn into powerful things and powerful movements and things that you do in your life. But just because you do those powerful things doesn't mean it doesn't still affect you in some manner. And that's what I realized, that although I did all those wonderful things, I helped thousands of kids. And I thank you, Kimberly, because you helped a number of the kids by you helping out with She Matters. So I thank you for that. But by all the things and all the people that I was able to connect through She Matters, I realized that I still had some pain on the inside, that I had to realize that she mattered, meaning me, Kendra mattered. And I had to do the work to make sure that she was healed. So the career coach was able to help me with that process, that healing process, that Kendra Matters process. And in realizing that, yes, I was doing those things to help kids, but I still had a lot of hurt and pain. And his question was, who's going to help you? And and that and that just made me cry. To be honest with you, I cried, when I realized that with all the great things that I've done, all the accolades that I've received, I still needed help. And I needed to help the little girl that was still inside of me.
How powerful is that, though? That one question like struck that nerve for you.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately began, ultimately began your healing process, right?
Yeah.
This career coach, that's some career coach.
Yes. Yes, he really is. Awesome.
But that one question, man, and this was a perfect example of your purpose being wrapped up in your pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because
Definitely.
very things that you experienced as a child is what you didn't want to watch other children go through.
Mm-hmm.
And we share similar testimonies in that. So, man, that is awesome.
Yeah, I didn't want to see them go through it, but
Yeah.
even if they did go through it, which I did, I needed them to know that they could still be successful and that they could overcome it, because that's the important thing. We can't feel defeated by the different things that we've gone through in our lives. I mean, we've all gone through terrible, terrible experiences, but we need to know that we don't have to result in depression, suicide, and all the other things that we may think about, or we may be tempted to, or we may be subject to, things like that. And we can't let those things keep us from fulfilling our purpose and doing what God would have us to do. So I'm thankful that that I was able to do that I was able to get in touch with that pain, and to hopefully help many other people.
I like that. Get in touch with your pain. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where the healing actually begins. So you also talked about another incident at the family cookout that happened between the two of you, between you and your mom, but you said this time it was different. Like you were 47 and she was 65. And somehow at that point you found the courage to stand up to your mom. So what was that like for you after all those years of going through that? What was that like for you?
It was scary and empowering at the same time.
Wow.
And what it was scary because that's my mother. She's the person who raised me. She was there every day, grew up in the house, and and the nature of the mother-daughter relationship, it was scary, and I'd never done that. And although, as I said earlier, and as you mentioned, I had a smart mouth, but I still had a lot of respect for my mother, and it was scary for me. But it was also empowering to know that I finally realized that although I love my mother very dearly, I can't be subject to the pain anymore, or allow myself to deal with it the same way. That something had to change in that situation, and it had to be me. And I didn't have the defense mechanisms that I used before to deal with those situations, that I had to grow up and treat it as a grown woman.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. And then and she received that, right? Once you
Did.
took the chance and you did that, she received that from you.
She did. She did. She did. Because sometimes, and we have to know that we can change a situation. That people may be the same and they may have certain tendencies, but if we change, that changes the whole situation, and that changes how they treat us, how we react, and everything moving forward. And that was true for my situation. I had to change in order to change the situation.
Yeah, and that's that whole premise of you teach people how to treat you.
That's it.
Exactly what
That's
happened. Wow. So one of the things you said in the book that struck me was you told little Kendra that she was not responsible for her mom's pain. And that right there is a powerful revelation. And I think there are so many broken mother-daughter relationships that if both the mothers and the grown daughters had that revelation, that there would be a massive healing in the land. That you are not responsible for your parents, not just your mom, but for your parents' pain. They came with their own stuff before you even came into the world, and you are not responsible for their pain. So I mean, I bet that was a great revelation for you as well to be able to move forward, right?
It was. I mean,
Mhm.
I realized that hurt people hurt people. And not even intentionally, but you're a function of what you've gone through, and it's your choice as to how you deal with it. And while my parents may have certain choices in how they dealt with their pain, I had to make my own choices and decide that I was not going to allow the hurt that I went through to continue to affect me professionally, personally, as a mother. I was going to deal with it a different way, and I was not going to hurt my children the way that I was hurt. And you also have to respect the fact that people are hurt.
Yeah,
I had to learn that, and that I could not take everything as an affront to me, because it wasn't necessarily me. It was a function of the experiences that my mother had that were affecting me,
right,
intentionally or unintentionally.
right, right. Wow. So in your conclusion, you wrote, once I healed, it was like the world got brighter, my load was lighter, and I felt a freedom and happiness I never felt before. Talk
Yeah.
about what that feeling is like, that feeling of freedom.
Yeah, I remember just feeling lighter on the inside. And a lot of the burdens that I was carrying, the pain I was carrying, it left me. And
Mhm.
then, but what it left me with was a joy on the inside that replaced, what was that pain that I was holding in that little area of my life, my heart. And it's just such a blessing to have that release. And no matter what I go through, I still have that joy and that peace on the inside that replaced that hurt that I was using. And even the mask or the defense mechanism I was using to operate in my daily life. And that's replaced now. So I'm thankful.
Wow. That's awesome. So it was a great ending to that story, and I know that it's going to transform a lot of people. So I'm just grateful for your writing about that. So tell me, what was it like for you to actually write this chapter?
Uh, hmm. It was enlightening for me. I loved when you write that you sometimes write down some things that you don't even realize that you have on the inside. It helps you to recall some of the experiences, some of the things that you've gone through, some of the emotions that you didn't realize that you had, but it also is very empowering for you to get it out and for me to know that my experience can help others. And
Yeah.
that no situation is doomed. Although you may have had a bad relationship in the past, it does not doom your future. And it's also about forgiveness too. It was, just solidifying the forgiveness that I had in my heart, that I was no longer carrying all those hard feelings from the things that I'd gone through, from being called a demon, that I could truly forgive and love and accept my mother for who she is, and continue to do that till this day.
Amen. That's
Yep.
wonderful.
Yep.
So tell our listeners, what does the writing process look like for you? So is there a certain place you go? Do you write on paper, tablet? What does the actual writing process look like for you?
The actual process is in my bed most of the time, or when I did the majority of the Healing the Girl Within, the majority of it was in my bed. But some of it I'd written down at a certain time. So God would give me certain periods, and I would write down little notes in a notebook that I keep with me most of the time. So I write a couple of things down, but the majority of it I typed into my computer, and I would go to my notes and take those things. But then most of it I did in the computer.
Okay.
Yep.
I always like that because everybody has a different vibe, like how they actually write, and that can be helpful to some people. So when people read your chapter in Set Apart and Chosen, what is it that you want them to gain from reading your chapter?
What I want them to know is that even if you are a professional woman, successful in your career and in your life, that there may be areas in your life that you still need to recognize that may be in need of some transformation. There may be some unresolved hurt and pain. If there are teenagers that read this, then I want them to know that regardless of what you've been through in your life, that you are able to make it, you are able to become successful, you are able to become whole.
That's
Like
good.
everyone's gained from it.
That's good. So tell people where they can purchase a copy of Set Apart and Chosen from you.
Go to my website, hercommunications.com, and you can purchase a copy today.
Do you still have gifts left? Because I know we had the special gifts that we were offering with the autographed copies during the campaign, the pre-order campaign, which ends tomorrow.
Just a few.
Just a few. So guys, make sure that you go to Kendra's website to order a copy of the book from her. And I thank you guys for joining us for another session of the LPE Author Chat series. We have one more interview left on tomorrow, so make sure that you join us for this last session of the special edition, the Anthology Edition for Set Apart and Chosen. God uses ordinary women to do extraordinary things. Thank you to Kendra Randall for joining us this evening. And if you are someone who is thinking about writing your book, then head over to our website at www.LaBooPublishing.com. Take care and be blessed, guys, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.